All right, are you ready to completely change how you watch and listen to your own digital media? Today, we're going to demystify a really fantastic piece of software called Plex. It lets you build your very own streaming server. Let's dive in. So, you know how it is, right? You're juggling a half dozen different streaming subscriptions, and on top of that, your own movies, your home videos, your music, it's all just scattered everywhere on different hard drives. It's a mess, and it just seems to get more complicated every day.
Well, just what if you could bring all of it together into one single, beautiful library? A library that you actually own, where your favorite movie can't just vanish because a license expired. That is exactly what Plex Media Server does. The best way to think of it? It's like you're building your own personal Netflix, stocked with everything you love.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll talk about what makes Plex so great. Then, we'll run through a super simple checklist of what you'll need. After that, it's the main event, the step-by-step setup. And finally, we'll cover some pro tips to make your server awesome and wrap up with a few quick troubleshooting fixes. Okay, let's jump right into our first section. This really gets to the heart of the problem that Plex is built to solve. So here's the magic. Plex takes all those media files you have scattered around and pulls them into this one gorgeous, easy-to-use interface. It does all the heavy lifting for you, grabbing movie posters, cast info, subtitles, you name it. And the best part? It streams everything to pretty much any device you can think of. Your TV, your phone, your tablet. Whether you're at home or on the other side of the world, it just works. It's your media everywhere.
All right, let's move on to what you'll actually need to get this thing going. And trust me, you're probably going to be surprised that you already have most of this stuff. You know, the best thing about setting up a Plex server is how simple the hardware requirements are. You don't need some beast of a machine. That old laptop sitting in the back of your closet? Perfect. All you really need is a computer, a place to store your files, and a network connection. Oh, and a little pro tip, a wired connection is always going to give you the smoothest experience. Then just grab a free Plex account and you're pretty much ready to go.
Okay, here we go. This is the heart of it all, the actual practical guide to getting your very own Plex server up and running. Let's build this thing. Now, there are a few different ways you can install Plex. You could use Docker if you want something more flexible, or even a tiny Raspberry Pi for a really low-power setup. But for our purposes today, we're going to stick to the absolute easiest, most straightforward method, installing it directly on a Windows or Mac OS computer. Seriously, getting this set up is a breeze. Just 5 simple steps. First, do a tiny bit of homework. Create separate folders for your movies, your TV shows, and your music. Keep things tidy. Next, just hop over to plex.tv, download the server software, and run the installer. A setup wizard will pop up. Give your server a cool name, and then, this is the most important part, point Plex to those media folders you just made. After that, you can just sit back. Plex does the rest, scanning everything and building that beautiful library. The very last step, install the Plex app on your TV, your phone, whatever you use to watch stuff, sign in, and boom, you're streaming. So, what if you want to watch your movies when you're not at home? Well, this is how you do it. You need to set up something called port forwarding on your internet router. Now, I know that sounds super technical, but it's really not that bad. All you're doing is telling your router, hey, any traffic that comes looking for Plex, send it to this specific computer. The magic number you need is TCP port 32400. A quick Google search for your router's model and port forwarding will show you exactly how to do it. Okay, so your server is up and running. Awesome. Now, let's talk about a few simple things you can do to take your Plex experience from just good to absolutely fantastic. All right, here are a few tips to really dial things in. First, and listen, this one is huge. Name your files correctly. Just follow the format you see on the screen. Show name, season, episode number. If you do that, Plex will almost never get it wrong. Also, for a super zippy browsing experience, try to install the Plex server software itself on an SSD. It makes a world of difference. And hey, if you end up getting a Plex Pass, make sure you turn on hardware transcoding. It's a total game changer, especially for 4K streams. And, sometimes things just don't go perfectly. It happens. So if you do hit a little snag, here are a few quick fixes for the most common problems you might run into. Getting that dreaded buffering circle? First thing to try is to just lower the streaming quality in the app you're watching on. Or better yet, switch to a wired connection if you can. What about if Plex grabs the wrong movie poster? That's almost always a file name issue. Just rename it correctly and then use the Fix Match tool right inside Plex. And if that remote access isn't working, 9 times out of 10, it's either that port forward for TCP 32400 isn't right, or a firewall on your computer is blocking it.
You know, the source for this explainer, Fair Solution, really just nails it with this quote. With just a little bit of attention to how you name things and your network, you can have a fast, private, Netflix-style setup for your entire household. It's your media, totally on your terms. So the real question is, are you ready to stop juggling all those services and finally take back control? To bring all of your media home into one perfect library that you're in charge of? Building your own Plex server is a genuinely fun and super rewarding project. For a more detailed guide and lots of other tech explainers, definitely go check out our website, Fair Solution. Thanks so much for tuning in, and happy streaming.